Hello, this is Deborah with Redirecting, and I'm going to be revisiting the subject of a recent upload that we did entitled They Broke In While We Were Making Love. Now, I'm going to be revisiting this because there was a lot of feedback on the video, and I think I wanted to address one thing specific in this particular video before we go on to chapter 2, because with the first video, it was an SOS basically saying, look, it's time for us to save ourselves. It is time for us to revitalize, rejuvenate, and reclaim our love for one another as melanated people. We have to understand the power behind this relationship that we have. And I think the enemy has done a really great job of making sure that we did not understand the power behind this relationship. So much has been done to break it down and tear it to pieces. And so I sent out the first video as an SOS to get your attention. But family, as the chapters go on, we want to go deeper because we need to understand what it is we have. Those of you who are in a relationship right now with a melanated person. It's really sad that I have to say this, those of you who are, because we are starting to see more and more where our own people are marrying others. And that when you see a couple, a black couple, you're shocked and you're actually happy. It's like you get some type of joy from seeing it because it's becoming very rare. I know a person who used to live in Colorado, a good friend of mine. She moved to our area here now. And she said in Colorado, it is very difficult to find a melanated couple. That there are mostly mixed couples. And when you see a melanated couple, you're like smiling, grinning from ear to ear. And it shouldn't be, family. So we sent out the SOS. We're going to continue each chapter. As I said before, we're going to go deeper and deeper so that we can understand and find out what needs to be fixed. You can find a whole bunch of videos out there that talks about what he's doing and what she's doing. As a matter of fact, I had a request a couple of months ago for a re-upload of a video that I did years ago, and it was titled The War Between Black Men and Women. Now, I didn't want to re-upload that video, and I also didn't want to redo the video. I had talked about redoing it, but then I said, you know what, I don't know if it needs to be redone because we know what our problems are, and which is nothing wrong with discussing the problems, but I think we need to focus on some solutions as well, because many times when you see videos go up, there is a lot of black women hating black men, and vice versa, black men hating black women. But we need to start to show the world that, look, we are past this, that we can be adults and we can agree to disagree if you must move on. But we also need to show the world that there's some power behind this love. And it's not just walking down the aisle and saying I do, but we need to revitalize and reclaim this love that we have for each other because it's very powerful and very deep. And so I believe that power has been taken from us systematically, strategically, intentionally, and we don't know what hit us. And so we're looking at each other, the black man looking at the black woman looking at the black man. And instead of us saying, look, let's get to the bottom of this problem and fix it, we just go deeper and deeper into this hatred that has been programmed into us. Now, the thing that I wanted to talk about in this video, some of the brothers left comments saying that they would love, listen sisters, listen to what I'm about to say to you. They left comments saying that they would love to be with some of our melanated sisters, with some of our chocolate brown sisters. Some brothers even said that they love them really chocolate, you see. And the response that they get from black women sometimes is not favorable. They said, I would love to be with them, but they just don't want to be with me. Now, this is not the first time I've heard this sort of thing. I've seen it before, up close and personal, and I've also heard it before. Now, that comes from a particular generation. I don't know which one dropping the ball. I don't know which one. Maybe it was not just a particular generation, but things that changed, because usually when something falls apart in the so-called black community, you can't look at one thing and say, this is the problem. Usually what's going on is a number of things that are taking place. You have the school system, you have television, music, the environment, problems, situations, and just all kinds of things, stresses, the cares of this life. All of these things aid in the breakdown of the Black family. And so we tend to take it out on each other because we don't see what is really working behind the scenes. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But when you feel helpless and you say, well, I see what's happening, there's nothing I can do about it, so forget it. That's the wrong attitude. That's when we must fight. As I stated in the last video, it is very, very important that we get this. We need to understand. Our brothers need to understand. Our women need to understand. Becky and Biff will not die for you. Get that. You see, but I know, and I'm not saying that every Black woman is a good Black woman or every Black man is a bad Black man, because you have good and bad on both sides. We know that there is a lot of information out there as it relates to interracial marriages or dating, and it is more men dating outside of the race than it is women. Women are starting to jump on the bandwagon, however, because they feel rejected. But we're not going to make this a thing of blame, but what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of the problems that we are facing as a people. Because one thing we need to understand, and someone posted this in the comments, I heard this years ago, I believe Malcolm X stated this, and we actually heard a Gentile white man say this as well, that they're going to use their one last weapon against the Black family or against the Black race. And they said it was the white woman. See, they didn't have to use the white man as a weapon because he has always gone into communities and countries and continents and did what he did to the Black female population. So he didn't have to be used as a weapon. He literally goes in and does what he wants and has his way. This is why you have all these mixed nations around the world. But the white woman was off limits to the Black man, you see. Now, of course, during slavery, there were some white women that said, look, you better do this to me or I'm going to say that you did whatever, right? And so there were cases where Black men were forced to just dive in. And trust me, he did it with fear. But anyway, we need to get to the bottom of these things instead of continuing the blame game. We do understand, I must say this, brothers, because you are the head, it starts with you. It begins with you, because when the head is out of order, the whole body is out of order. But again, I wanted to address what some of the brothers stated before I get too far off into other things. When I hear brothers say that they would love to be with a melanated woman, but they don't want to be with him, that really, really bothers me, and it deeply disturbs me because I have seen that. I have seen women who are very picky and just... I don't have any words for it. I don't get it myself. What usually happens in some of these cases is you'll have a woman who will look at a man and he's not her cup of tea, because a lot of women do like the thugs. Some women don't like the nice guy. Oh, he's too nice. As a matter of fact, we saw a video years ago, and many of you may have seen it because the video has millions of views, where this woman was divorcing her husband because she said he was too nice. He would cook for her. If she said she was hungry at 2 or 3 in the morning, this man would get up and cook her a full course meal. He waited on her hand and foot. He treated her like a queen. Now, I'm not saying that this is what a man is supposed to do, but this is what this man did. I think it goes both ways, that there's supposed to be a mutual love and respect, with the man being the head of the woman. You see, the man being the head and Yahusha being the head of man. And so when you have women who act like this and just don't want to be with a man because they think he's too nice or he's too boring or whatever, this is a woman who's probably still young, because once you get up there in age, you start to realize that you are running out of options, because there are younger women now that are going to actually grab the attention or grab the eyes of this man that you rejected. You see? And so this mentality came from somewhere. This mentality of not wanting a particular man because you feel he's too boring or he doesn't look the way you want him to look. Let me tell you where this came from. Of course, there's no one source. But when they throw up celebrities and stars and all of these things before us, and they make these people idols, you begin to look at the Denzel Washingtons of the world and the Chestnuts of the world and the Billy D. Williams and, all these handsome faces, likewise with women, all these beautiful faces, and you begin to imagine that that is what you want. But sticking to the women, a lot of women, they look at these men that they see in Hollywood, these rappers, some of them, these basketball and football players and these movie stars and celebrities and all these famous people. They look at how they're shaped and the money and the lives they live, the lifestyle, and they want that. And many times they know they may not get the man who has that kind of money, but some of them will say, well, look, I at least want someone who looks good, who looks fine. Now get this, there is absolutely nothing wrong with desiring a person to look handsome or beautiful. Nothing wrong with that at all, you see. Because, that's just the way it is. But when you make that the sole thing that you go after, you can have a handsome man that is no good or a beautiful woman who is no good. What is the point in that? Because beauty wears off. Is she your friend? Do you enjoy her company? Can you all have a conversation beyond the bed? Is it only in the bed that you all are able to connect? If you are going after what is in the bed and not what is in the head, then you are selling yourself short. And this is why you don't or cannot find the proper mate. Women, I don't care if this man, one brother made a point of this. He said, whether I work at McDonald's or whether I work at the Pentagon, if I'm a hardworking man, I believe this was Brother Samuel. If I'm a hardworking man who loves you and is going to take care of you, that is what you're looking for. Bump all the rest of this stuff, because it is these things, and again, I'm talking to the women, it is these things that have gotten a lot of us in trouble. Looking for the wrong things, desiring the wrong things, and then you age out of importance. Because what happens is, when you get older, it gets thinner and thinner, because some of those older men who may have been interested in you when you were younger, if they are not attached, they may actually start or continue to look at younger women. That is just the way it's going. And so we've got to be a lot more realistic and stop insulting brothers who don't have the type of job you are looking for, or who may be dark skinned and you want someone light with curly hair. All of that stuff is very superficial and is not feasible to go after those things. What you want is a solid relationship, a solid love. I don't care. Listen, I've heard all of the arguments about a man who works at McDonald's and a man who works for a garbage delivery pickup company, and a man who is a janitor. I've heard all the arguments about those things. But when you look at that man, and he treats you right, he opens the doors for you, and he's very respectful to you, and he's a gentleman with a job. It may not be at the Pentagon, but it is a job. Now that is a man that has more than potential. More than potential. Because if you yourself are a visionary, think about this for a minute. You can say, look, I'm going to get that man. He likes me. He's good for me. He's good to me. He asked me to marry him. And because I'm a visionary, I will marry him. And we're going to work this thing out together. This thing we call life. We are going to work it out together. Just because someone works at a restaurant, or they're a janitor, or they drive a garbage truck, doesn't mean that they don't have goals or ambitions above that. How would you know unless you talk to them? Now, I'm just going to say this real quick. I think for men and women, you know if you've met a loser. Now, it is very clear that some people are just losers, okay? And I'm just trying to keep it real today. Forget all this politically correct stuff. I'm trying to keep it real. There are some people out there that are not good to be in a relationship with, okay? I am not talking about those people. I'm talking about someone with potential where when you sit and talk to this man and you all get to know each other and you look at him, you share some of your thoughts and your ideas with him. If he is a man who's listening to you and he's supporting you and he's encouraging you in those things, then maybe you should give it some time, give it a chance. I'm not saying just marry this person within the first 30 days or first 6 months. Get to know the person. But if you never give him a chance because you say, oh, he works at McDonald's, if you never give the person a chance, then how would you know if they can be a good man? How do you know what else this brother has going on? Because you're looking at that one thing. That one thing. Of course, there is so much to listen to and look at and observe, which cannot be done in a few short weeks. Usually, and I talked about this in one of our recent broadcasts on the Watchman Reports channel, usually many of us do have discernment. We just ignore red flags. Most of the time, there are clues about how a person is right there in your face. Whether it's a man or a woman, you see clues right there. It's something they said, something they did, a look in their eye, some of the things they talk about, some of the things they focus on. It's usually right there. But when you ignore red flags and you shut your discernment off, that is what gets a lot of people into trouble. Get a lot of women into situations and a lot of men into situations. Red flags are usually just screaming and hollering at you. So I don't believe that anyone has an excuse to be in a bad relationship. It is something there, especially in this day and time. You can't do it like it was done back in the Bible days. I hear people talk about how things were done back in Bible times. And, well, if you saw a woman and you slept with her, she was your wife. Come on now. We living in different times now. You can't just say I do to anybody. You can be marrying a murderer. And as for you men, there's the transgender agenda, where some of these men are looking more like women, more and more and more like women. And I'm not trying to get off into that because I'm not talking about accusing actual women of being transgender. I'm talking about those who are clear and open about it. They open their mouth and they sound just like a man. So this is why we have to be careful when we enter into marriage. Okay? But what I'm trying to say is when you have those who don't want to marry someone, specifically you sisters who don't want to marry someone because you don't like his job, or you think he might be 2 inches too short, or a little bit too tall, or he's just a little bit too dark for me, or he's just a little bit too light for me. When you start using excuses like that, that is actually a very, 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 in my opinion, dangerous thing to do, because a lot of these men have actually said that because of the rejection of the black woman, many of them go to white women. Now, I already know that some of you will say, no, they are just using that as an excuse. Now, that is the case for some, but not for all, because the same can be said for black women. The number of dark-skinned, natural-haired black women that I have seen married with children to white men is just incredibly high. It's getting incredibly high. We're seeing it more and more because a lot of black men have expressed disdain for dark-skinned, natural-haired women. This is because we have been trained to not even admire the beauty in our own skin color. That's men and women. But I want to send out an SOS in this video to our women who have done this. You've turned away a wonderful brother who could have been your man, who could have been your husband, the father of your children. You all could have been together, making love, being together, building something. But he was forced to go to Becky because you wouldn't give him the time of day. Now again, I must say this, and it's sad that I have to say certain things throughout a video so that people don't misunderstand me. I know that that is not every case. I do know that some brothers just want Becky just because they want her. I'm not talking to those brothers. I'm talking about brothers who really did go to Becky because they couldn't find a sister who liked them because of their color or something else they didn't like about them. That's who I'm talking about right now. But you brothers who crossed over because you wanted to, because Becky did the things that you liked, and you just thought Becky was kind of like one of those super freaks, you know what Rick James talked about in his song Super Freak. If that was your reason for crossing over, you have some problems. Well, I thought it was very interesting looking at a lot of the comments, and I'm just hoping that we can convince our brothers and sisters to see the value in making black love, because what we bring forth are beautiful black melanated children. More specifically, and I want to say this for those of you who don't like the use of the term black, I do know that we are not black, but a lot of our people do not know that we are the Israelites, the children of Israel. And so I'm trying to appeal to those people as well, because many of them, Todayah, they follow our ministry. They are not in the truth, but as they watch and they listen, they grab hold of the truth. Scripture says, he that winneth souls is wise. You can't beat people over the head with the truth. Sometimes you have to let them watch from a distance. And as they watch, they will begin to see, know, and understand that we are not black. We are Israelites, you see. And so that is the goal. So those of you who don't like the use of the term black, please understand I'm doing what I must to reach my people where they are. To reach my people where they are. This series right here is about love. It's about making love. And I'm not just talking about making love in the bed, family. It goes far beyond that. Far beyond the bed. When we create children, when we look into the eyes of these beautiful chocolate drops. I remember I have children with different skin tones, caramel, some are lighter, some are darker. But I love my little chocolate drops. I used to call some of my babies that. And it is a beautiful thing to see a black family loving each other. Thanks to the sister who sent me the video link to your channel. It's KR, I can't remember the last name, but thanks for sending the link to your channel with those beautiful images of you and your husband. That's what I'm talking about, family. There are families out here, many so-called black families that do love each other, husbands and wives that love each other. We have got to be the examples for our brothers and sisters to let them know that this thing is real. What we feel is for real. This love that we share is for real. And it's not to say that we don't have problems or issues or anything like that, or things that we don't have to work out and deal with. That comes with the territory. But what we are trying to say is that we've got to endure these things together, because these other nations, Becky don't love you. Becky wouldn't die for you. Biff wouldn't die for you. And I'll probably come up with another name other than Biff, because I don't remember knowing of too many Biffs other than television. But anyway, you all get what I'm trying to say here, family. It's time for us to love each other. We need to reclaim this thing. We can't keep going down the tubes. You see, we've got to show those expressions of love to one another. We have got to do that. Our children need to see that, because this is a whole other video. It was really sad. One commenter said that her mom would only allow her to date the vanilla man in high school. And we know of people like that as well who specifically told their black children, do not date anyone black, but to find someone white or another race. So family, this series, I pray that Abba Yah allows it to heat up to where we can get to the bottom of some things, to where we can figure out some things. If we need to be taught how to love each other again, we're going to talk about that because trust me, we need to understand the power of black love. It's a lot more to it than making love in the bed. We've got to make love in our minds, in our souls, all throughout our families. We've got to make love and bring us back together again. We've got to bring us back together again. We've got to start looking at each other in a different light. If you are in a melanated relationship right now, woman, look at that man and remember what it was about him that you loved. Man, look at that woman and remember what it was about her you loved. Forget about all that other stuff. Take it and throw it in the trash. All the problems, all the burdens, all the arguments. You have to cast it aside. Watchman and I are going to be talking more about going before the courts of heaven. We're going to show you all what Yah has been showing us and why the enemy is able to literally obliterate many marriages, because we have no idea what we have been hit with. This is why the scripture says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and the rulers of darkness of this world and spiritual wickedness in high places. When you don't know who the enemy is, you're going to look at the person that you're laying next to, and that is the enemy to you because that's all you know. But when you understand that there are dark forces that don't want you to be with that melanated person, they will break in while you are making love and totally annihilate your marriage. Okay, family, I hope that this series will be a blessing to those of you who are subscribed to this channel and the Watchman Reports channel. I hope that it will be a blessing to you because, family, trust me when I tell you this. We need black love. We need Israelite love. We need that tribe of Judah love. Hear me when I tell you. We need that love, family. More than you know. I'm out of here. Shalom.